Thank you. So now we can move to the panel discussions. So we have with us our first panel. I now request our guest speakers from the first panel. Dr. A.R. Vasavi, please come. A.R. Vasavi is a social anthropologist based in Karnataka. She works with the Punarchith collective in Chamarajanagar. She retired from the National Institute of Advanced Studies, Bangalore. Her academic interests are in the sociology of India, agrarian studies, and education. Thank you, Vasavi, for coming today. The next speaker we have is Vinod Krishnan. He is a wildlife conservationist who has mainly focused on the human dimension of human-elephant conflict in Hassan and across Karnataka. He has worked with the Nature Conservation Foundation in the past and is currently with the Humane Society International India, working in Kodagu district. With Liana Trust, he is in Hunsur trying to focus on preventing snake bites among agrarian communities. Welcome, Vinod. Next we have with us Priya Venkatesh. She is the founder director of the Naturalist school, which runs structured formal courses for nature interpreters aimed at conservation through formal education and responsible ecotourism. Priya is a master trainer and assessor with the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. She is one of the few women who have crossed the Arctic and Antarctic circles with a mission on climate change. Welcome, Priya. Bhargavi S Rao works on the intersections of community action with law, policy, planning, and governance. She has about 30 years' experience in research, advocacy campaign, and teaching in a variety of human rights, governance, people-centered initiatives, and advancing environmental and social justice. She's an independent researcher, educator, and consultant. Welcome, Bhargavi. And Bhargavi will also be moderating today's panel discussion. Over to you, Bhargavi.
Hello. Namaskara. Yellarigu. Thank you so much for having me here to both the Desi Trust, Charaka, and Ragi, Kana, who are all part of this initiative today, and giving me this opportunity. So we have a very distinguished panel sitting here, and each of them come with a very rich experience in their own fields. So to kind of give a tone to the discussion, I would just like all of you, I know we don't like technology, but just to add to the anxiety, there is something called the Google Climate Clock. So according to the Google Climate Clock, to reach the 1.5 degree Celsius, we have 5 hours, 64 days, 4 minutes and 42 seconds. So as we all know, the IPCC gave us this deadline that if we don't take action and ensure that we don't reach the 1.5 degrees Celsius or beyond that, we are doomed. So in a context like this, the way decisions are being made is something we're all very conscious of. And for all these decisions, land is something that is very intensive. It is this land which is today being diverted to airports, expressways, highways, mining, you name it, and it all requires land. But it is also this land that supports a variety of livelihoods on which the handmade sector thrives. And in order to address climate change, we are pushing these livelihoods out. So it is like environment versus environment. So which one would you choose and which one would you not choose? It is a difficult question. I can also give many examples from my own work. So we were in court. Now we all know that how utility scale solar parks are causing a havoc in the Great Indian Bustard areas. And in the court, one of the judges said, so what if we have just 200 GIBs? You need to address climate change. We need renewable energy. So when we have questions like this, what is the path that we are going to take? We do have science with us because science is telling us, giving us numbers, giving us methods, giving us exactly, laying out the path that we need to take. So in such a context, this whole 1.5 degrees Celsius did, create interest among the youth. And it is the youth today who have really taken up this issue across the world. And, they are holding governments accountable, businesses accountable, they are holding societies accountable. And they have used all possible media, social media, and they've also come out onto the streets and protested campaigns and different kinds of protests that we have seen. And they are also into a variety of initiatives. They initiate conversations, they initiate dialogue, they don't shy away from it, and they hold very interesting conversations in the many circles that I have seen among the youth. And in Bangalore itself, and I'm sure many other cities, there are many youth forums which are seriously discussing all this. While that is a good thing, on the other hand, in a country like India, there is this organization called Center for Monitoring Economics. It's a Delhi-based organization. They came out with a report very recently which said that 7.6% of our youth are unemployed. So what does that mean? On one hand, you have youth who are aware of this, who are talking about it, who are taking action. And on the other hand, you have a bunch of young people who are not employed. And they also live in the most marginalized and vulnerable areas. And they don't have agency to learn about climate change or take action about climate change. And they're not even in a position to save themselves when natural disasters strike, which is a very unfortunate thing. And to top all of this, what is happening is these youth are also migrating out of their villages in search of jobs. And we all know what Uber and Ola and Swiggy and various other, the gig economy is doing to them, because we also see them protesting here for proper wages and various other labor laws and things like that. It's not that they are coming into a greener area, right? So in such a situation, what is it that can be done? So if you go back to these villages and see what is happening there, the villages are largely left with women, children, and senior citizens. And it is the women who are bearing the brunt of all these challenges of keeping the house, kitchen fires alive, trying to send children to school, taking care of the old, fetching water, fetching firewood. In a place like Pavagada, you will see that people who parted with their land still have to walk long distances to get firewood. So that is what we are seeing, and the first thing that they do is they pull the girl children out of school. And when that lease money comes once a year, the only thing the mother wants to do is get that daughter married off. That child is not ready for marriage. And then she gets into childbearing. The recent FAO report has said that the South Asian region is most prone to climate change and malnutrition, and it gives data about how women in India and the entire South Asian region, it has country-wise data, where women are anemic, children are stunted, wasted, and they are born with very low birth weights. So how do we address all of this? At the same time, India, on the other hand, is also a country which is producing a very high amount of a few agri-crops. We are one of the largest exporters of some of the agri-products, but that is not available to a section of the society who are not able to buy it. They just don't have the bandwidth to buy it. If a lease amount is fetching 20,000 rupees per month, 20,000 rupees per year per acre, obviously they can't afford to buy the kind of food we are talking about. And the patterns of land grab are very interesting. Land is being taken by lease, land is being taken by threatening and direct purchase by the companies, and land is being taken violently with complete human rights violation, literally pushing them from their places of livelihood. This in the context of the Land Acquisition and Rehabilitation Resettlement Act, which saw some amazing amendments till 2015. That act is not used at all. Across the country, state after state is dodging that law today. And then to top that, like I said, climate change is pushing renewable energy policies. These renewable energy policies today determine how land has to be used. The land policies are being determined by the renewable energy policies. So we are headed to a disaster where, if you go to Pavagada, it's a sea of glass. Now a similar project is coming just next to the old one. The old one is 13,000 acres. Another 13,000 acres of solar park is coming there. You go to Kutch, it's a bigger one. You go to Reva, it is expanding. Everywhere we are expanding. It's going to be a sea of glass. And all these places are going to be packed with solar waste. And it is these communities again who will have to bear that brunt also 28 years from now when the whole plant will be decommissioned. So with all these questions, where are the answers? What do we do? Is it a doomsday scenario? No, there is hope because there are alternatives. And these alternatives are all around us. And it's just that we don't hear so much about them because these are people who are working very quietly, like Prasanna mentioned, and they are doing some amazing work to ensure that the youth don't really have to migrate to cities. They can find work in their own neighborhoods, in their own villages. They can be self-sufficient. They can work with dignity. So in this context, I would now request each of our panelists to share their thoughts. We have time, right? Yeah. So I first request Dr. Vasavi to share her work in